Well, I was able to make pretty good progress on the vanity dresser over the past couple of days. I'm about to start the second coat of stain, and then I'll make a judgment call on whether or not I want a third coat. Before starting this, however, and after finishing the drawers in the last video, I thought it'd be a good idea to go back and put some finishing touches on the base units before starting on the top. I haven't attached the foot pedestals yet, so let's do that. I'll make an initial 45-degree cut on the end of one of my boards I'm using for the feet. Then from the short end of the cut, measure and mark. I'll transfer that mark up the board so you guys can see it when I make the cut. I like to cut this end long and sneak up on it later if I need to. A board that's too long can be trimmed. A board that's too short is, well, just frustrating. Let me check that to see how close I am. I'm looking for 21 inches on the tape. That's not bad. All right, I'll repeat that process for the rest of the boards I need. I'm going to partially assemble these before attaching them to the dresser base units. My dowel jig makes a good reference point to make sure the miters I cut are 90 degrees. I don't want to think I did a good job, only to be disappointed when I go to attach them to the base units. That looks pretty good. I'll pop a couple nails there, then flip it around and pop a couple more. Now it's time to attach my partially assembled foot pedestals to the dresser base units. If I cut them correctly, and oh man, I hope I did, they should slide right on. I need the overhangs on the pedestals to be identical for both base units, because if they're not, then they're not going to be the same height, and then, well, that would just be bad, unless, of course, you're installing them on stairs. But I don't know why you would. And that would definitely be a separate video. Now I'll add some ledge pieces for added strength and support. Place the base units back on the floor and attach some trim pieces. All right, that's done. Let's knock out this dresser top. Measure, mark, trim to size. That will make up the bulk of the top. I've cut some strips of solid oak, for which I will use for nosing so that I can shape the edges in just a moment. But first, I need to trim this front piece to length. The dowels worked out pretty well for the drawers, and they looked pretty good, so I thought I would bring that look to a more prominent place on the dresser. Now here is the seam I just created when I added the nosing. You can see the imperfections quite clearly. Thin strips of veneer have torn away in places, leaving bigger gaps in some areas all around the edge of the top. It just looks raw. We're going to clean that up a little bit. A shallow pass with a 1/8 inch straight bit will start that process. Now that looks better already. Now I'll round over that top edge. You know what I forgot to do? Yep. You know what? Since I'm here, I'll just give the top a quick sand. Alright, so where was I? Oh yes, I was rounding over those edges. Flip it over. Chamfer the bottom edge. Smooth out the rough spots with some hand sanding. Now that looks a lot better than it did just a moment ago. Now all I have to do is apply a dark stain inside those dados and it'll almost look like an inlay. I thought a long time about how I wanted a vanity dresser to go together as a complete unit. Because of its size and its design, vanity dressers of this style tend to have a weak point if you have to move them: the center. Now oftentimes you'll see them connected in the back, but I'm not convinced that that will completely mitigate the risk of damaging the dresser when it comes time to move it. So I've decided to not permanently connect the base units to each other, nor the top. So when it needs to be moved, I've elected to have it broken down to its individual pieces, but that means I'm gonna need a quick way to reference one piece to another for reassembly. So I'll futz around with this for a little while until I get everything where I want it, clamp it down, then drill some pilot holes for reference pins. I just gotta be sure not to go all the way through the top because, well, at this point, that would really suck. Now I should be able to place some pins and have the dresser go back together without a lot of hassle. Well, my plan for this week is in between the coats of stain. I think I'll start on the jewelry box for the top. Hey, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't. Check me out on Facebook and Pinterest. If you like this video, here's a couple more you'll like as well. Until then.